Hey, what's up, everybody? We back at it. I'm A Squared the Writer with Principal Stovall. This is second episode of the Blackboard. Last time we talked about, we defined, I should say, school versus education. So if you missed that, go back and check it out. But today, we'll be discussing the importance of education. Now, I think if you watched the last episode, I'm pretty sure everyone would agree that education is better than school. And so now we're going to hand it over to Principal Stovall, and you're going to tell people like what's the importance of education.
Yeah, I mean that's a real layered, loaded question, my brother. But it's definitely important, right? I would be remiss if I didn't, pay homage to those who came before me, right? Black brothers and sisters, brown brothers and sisters, trailblazers who have, from my family down to ones that like, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, like folks that have really paved the way for our civil rights, as a Black man. And so the importance of education is just making sure that you're really at your best self so that you can connect with others, right? I mean, I think that one of the biggest tricks that has been taught to us is that, this is all me. I do all this on my own. If it weren't for me, I wouldn't have got here. That like, it's 100% me, right? And I think that that's a very dangerous mentality because it doesn't account for the whole. The whole, the group is what has put you here. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for a lot of people who sacrificed to be able to allow me to be able to have a platform like this to be able to speak on these topics. And that's everybody in life. You're all connected. Even if you want to look at nature, for example, right? When we saw all of these people going through the shelter in place, what started to happen is all the animals started coming out and looking around like, hey, like cities are empty. We can start roaming the streets again, right? Because we all live together. We are all connected. And so, education can save your life. Like literally, if you're educated about a specific type of car or specific type of motorcycle or specific type of way of driving that car or motorcycle, you can literally save your life if it's raining or if you're on a slippery terrain, sand, gravel, you want to be educated. For example, like one of the things that I'm really educating myself on right now is this cryptocurrency. And if you haven't educated yourself on it, I would guarantee you that you want to, because you can see that all these different banking institutions are trying to get a hold of it now because they realize that all this money, all this revenue, all these dollars, all these francs, all these euros, all this yen is now about to change because it's not. And it's not that all of it is not backed by anything, but a lot of it is not backed by anything. And it's an old school, antiquated mentality around monetary systems that is going to change. And if you don't jump on that now and educate yourself about it now, you could be in the same process that you're in right now. But when people know this and they educate themselves around it, they can completely change their economic circumstance. And if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs, physiological, you want your food, shelter, water, clothes. When you can do that, then you can start moving up into like the relationship aspects of, do you have relationships that are actually important with you, whether that be like friendships, romantic relationships, career paths, and then all the way to the very top, which is self-actualization, which is where I think we are right now. We're able to do what we love. We're able to talk about what we love to people that may not necessarily know it. And it all started with making sure that everything was met basically when you're, around the food, shelter, clothes, whatever, right? But if you're not educating yourself and you're expecting that, our local officials, national officials are going to be able to give us some type of silver bullet to be able to stop all of our pain, whether it be healthcare, whether it be housing insecurities, food shortages, that's not going to work because this is a capitalistic society. They're trying to do everything possible to squeeze money from us so that they can make themselves richer. But if you do your own science, studying health, studying housing, if you know how to build things, if you know how to fix things, you're not going to have to buy a new car when your car breaks down because you can fix it. You're not going to be able to have to worry about calling a carpenter or a plumber to come and fix your house or apartment because you can fix it. You know, you're not going to have to worry about the supply chain shortage because you got enough land, you can grow your own food. You got your farm, right? And these are the things that like we have to understand as a society, especially in 2021, especially with this coronavirus, because it is a small little germ is basically showing us that your whole way of life doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Just a little germ, like just, you know, regardless of what you believe, was it manufactured in a laboratory, or did it come about because of, you know, just so much overconsumption and so much overpopulation and pestilence? Who knows? Regardless of what you believe, this has definitely changed our way of life. So how are you changing with it? Are you leaning into that discomfort and learning more about yourself? Are you sitting back like, woe is me? And this is the crux of the importance of education. Like, it can never be taken from you. You don't need school to be educated. And this is coming from a principle. I mean, you need school because it's, you know, it's the law, you got to go to school, but you know, you can also do home study. If the parents have enough time, if parents have enough energy to be able to homeschool their kids, they can. My oldest sister homeschooled my two nieces, and they're wonderful women this day and age. And they were homeschooled their entire year from 0 to 18. So now they might tell you they missed some of the social aspect of things, but you know, there's always a trade-off. But yeah, importance of education, it cannot be understated. The more you know, the better you do. The better you do, the more connected you feel to everyone else, and the more love and energy and expression you can give to the rest of the world to allow them to do the same thing, because I think everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants, or at least we should. I assume positive intentions when I speak to people. So I assume that everybody wants what's best for everybody, which is life, liberty, pursuit of happiness without, you know, being so Americanized. I'm not trying to do all that, but everybody wants those things, right? Those values. And the only way you can do that is having time to be able to educate yourself, doing the science on yourself, talking to people. If you're a kid and you don't know very much, having communication with other kids your age, having communication with your family, sitting at the dinner table and talking about your day is an importance of education. You know?
Yes. I know that firsthand, you know, from, you know, being a single father, you know, raising my sons, is that it's those small moments, you know, like I was saying, those small moments that go the longest way. Because, you know, you eat 7 days a week. You eat dinner 7 days a week. So can you imagine 7 days a week when you sit down with your family, you sit down with your son or your daughter, you know what I mean? Or if you got nieces and nephews or something like that, and you talking to them, you know what I mean? Ask them how their day went, you know what I mean? You know, ask them what they did in class and what they did in school. You know what I'm saying? Did they reach that certain goal that they had set? You know, and that's something we'll talk about. The importance of setting goals. You know, we'll talk about that eventually. But yeah, every day, man, you have to anything that you do, if you want to be good at it, it has to be done on a day-to-day basis. You know, I don't care who you are. Even if you in the streets out here hustling and selling dope, you don't get good at it by doing it once a week.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? You just don't. Like straight up, you know, like that's what people don't realize. Even people who do negative things, they still have to do those things repeatedly to become good at it. It's just simple as that. Someone who's lazy.
It's building those habits.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna promote doing that for everybody, but you know, it is a philosophy, right?
It works on both sides of the spectrum.
Right.
That core behavior works on both sides of the spectrum. Like when you look at Marvel, for example, you know, Marvel comics, right? You look at the superheroes and the villains, they're both similar. You got villains that can fly, you got superheroes who can fly. You know what I'm saying? You got villains that's super strong, you got heroes that's super strong. But it's a matter of choice whether you use that skill to either help you or hold you back. Straight up. Like all these dudes that's in jail, if they would have just took that same core, ability and did something positive, they wouldn't be in jail. It's that simple. It's that simple. They had the determination and the courage to go commit a crime. Take that same courage, determination to go to school, start a business, learn the trade. You know what I'm saying? Straight up.
It's definitely like, knowledge of self.
Yeah.
Right. So, I go back to Black Star, Talib Kweli, and Mos Def, right? Knowledge of self, determination. If you don't have that knowledge of self, you're not going to know what your true power is. Going back to your superhero analogy, and then all these comics that we read, I love comics too. Superheroes or supervillains don't really become who they are until they get the knowledge of who they really are and how their powers really work. And it's like, we're all superpowered, we're all superheroes and supervillains, even in our natural state, but it's a raw state that we have to figure out. We got to figure out, like, our minds work different. Our emotions work different. Our physical stature works different. And we have to understand what works best. Like, for example, like the types of foods that I put in my body 20 years ago. Oh, I can't do that now. I can't do that. Like and my goal is to remain as youthful as I possibly can for as long as I possibly can. Because I want to remain mobile. I used to play football like you.
Yeah.
I used to play basketball, I used to play tennis, used to run track. Like, I used to do a lot of different things. And as I'm getting older, I realize I can't do the same things I used to do. Yeah. And therefore, I have to change my entire frame of reference so that I can continue to at least get fulfillment out of my life. So that means changing my diet, changing my stretching habits, changing my sleeping patterns, right? Understanding what kind of influences do I need in my life, because that creates an energy, that creates like a vibration that might set me off completely. And if I don't have that knowledge to be able to at least, do some studying, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus. That is, that's my belief. But I don't believe that anyone who believes anything different than me is worse or better off than me. Exactly. I believe it's knowledge of self. Yeah. And so that's education. That, and like you said, go back to the last podcast, look at the difference between schooling and education. You can kind of see what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. When you started off, this is what came to mind. Remember I told I'm a writer, so this is what came to mind. Education is knowledge. Knowledge is potential wisdom. Wisdom is the key to life. So that pretty much sums it up in my opinion. Whether you disagree or agree, hey, comment, send us an email. Everything is, right there on your screen where how to contact me, how to contact Principal Stovall. So next time we're going to talk about the reward. We're going to talk about, what's the reward for pursuing, more education, educating yourself. We're going to talk about not just one, but multiple rewards that a person could possibly get. In the last episode, to wrap everything up, we'll talk about the resources. Where can you go to get, education? How can you educate yourself? So, until next time, everybody be safe and remember to educate and inspire through action. Y'all be smooth.
Yes, sir. Peace.